And happy Easter. I really wish you could have all been here in the courtyard at 6:30 this morning for our sunrise service. I'm not a morning person, and I think you should have all suffered with me. No, that's not the reason. No, just as the light began to dawn, so before the sun actually came up over the horizon, we were in the courtyard, and I just happened to be looking at the magnolia tree, which you pass by as you go through the breezeway, and there was just enough light that it was hitting all of the petals, and the whole tree looked as if it was glowing. Truly, truly, truly. Well, I don't know if it is ironic or comical or just plain wacky, but today we have the very unusual occurrence of Easter Day falling on April Fools. Of course, Paul talked about being fools for Christ and how the foolishness of God is wiser than the wisdom of the wise. And I can sort of imagine Jesus appearing to Mary and the two Marys and Salome, and then Peter and the other disciples, and saying, "April Fools! You thought I was gone. You thought I was dead and buried, but I got you that time." Of course, the resurrection of Jesus is anything but comical. Easter is supposed to be very serious, isn't it? And it is. But it's also joyful. It's also joyful. And unexpected, in a way. It's certainly not logical. How would somebody who is publicly executed be seen eating and drinking and laughing with friends 3 days after? Is that likely? Is that probable? It sounds more like an April Fool's prank, a strange April Fool's prank. But it isn't, and it wasn't. In some ways, it seems so improbable, doesn't it? The resurrection of Jesus, so unlikely, so unexpected. And yet, had we read the scriptures, it was all there. As Peter said, all the prophets testify about Jesus. We knew it. And Jesus, throughout his ministry, talked about how he would suffer and die, but how he would rise again on the third day. He even said it in the temple, and they didn't quite understand. And if we think about it, if we really know God, then we shouldn't be surprised at all, because with God there is no death. With God there is only life. And in our physical death, our life is not ended, but changed. There is only life with God. So what was the resurrection all about? If it's not to save us from eternal death, because life is given. Well, I think the resurrection is about being released. It's about being released from bondage. It's about being released, I think, from maybe the most insidious and, apart from love, the most powerful of all human instincts and drivers. And that is fear. Jesus came to set us free from fear. Jesus healed and released from fear. Look at the gospel this morning. It's a tiny, short little gospel reading. And there are at least 5 instances where it talks about people being afraid. The women coming into the tomb saw a man dressed in white, and they were alarmed. And the angel said to them, "Don't be afraid." And then they fled from the tomb, for terror and amazement had overcome them. And they said nothing initially because they were afraid. And how many times in the scriptures did Jesus say, "Don't be afraid, don't be afraid, don't be afraid"? Jesus came to release us from our fears. Now, I'm no psychologist, maybe a pop psychologist, a bad one at that. But I would suggest there are sort of two camps that our fears fall into and are drawn from. The first is the fear of what will other people think about me? And the other camp is, will I have enough? And the camp about what will other people think about me? Think about all the issues we have over self-image and doing the right thing and being thought well of. Think of all the situations you've gotten yourself into just to please somebody else or just to appear to be good. Boy, I lose count. I lose count. All the times when I bullied others because I didn't want them to know that I was afraid. That's the other way of dealing with our fears, isn't it? To push and to appear to be strong. Don't challenge me. Because if you do, you'll see that, yes, I'm just a house of cards and I'll blow away in the wind. But all the power struggles, all the manipulation games, all of the bullying and the hatred, all of the fear that we have one to another comes from this sense of deep insecurity which is in me. I can only speak for myself. What will others think? What will others think? Forgetting that I'm made in God's image and beloved, and you are made in God's very own image and beloved. What will others think? And will I have enough? Yes, I've got what I need today, but how about tomorrow? Or how about next week, or next year, or next month, or when I retire, or will I have enough money to send the kids to school, or if I have a medical emergency, or when the great event, the earthquake comes, what will happen? What will happen? And think how much flows from that basic fear of having enough. And because I'm afraid of not having enough, I grab whatever I can and stuff it away for a rainy day. And more and more. But as a good friend of mine who's been in banking for 30 years said to me many, many times, too much is not enough. Too much is never enough if we live in fear. And the fear that we have of immigrants and people who are not like us, well, if I have to share what I have, I won't have enough. Forgetting that the land is not ours in the first place. We're just passing through, we're just sojourners, and God gives it to us all. And there's more than enough to go around if we share. But I'm afraid, I am afraid. Jesus has broken the bonds of fear. Jesus went through what is unimaginable to most of us. And he faced it. He faced it. And more than that, he embraced it and transformed it. Because even death couldn't hold him. And death can't hold us. So don't be afraid. One final thing. It's not as if God is now going to put us in a bubble. I need to be honest. And save us from all the bad things that can happen to us in life. You have all had your share of tragedy. You have come through, and you are here. And the one who has been faithful to you and has brought you to this moment and this time will never abandon you and will be faithful to you on the journey that is to come, and will be with you through thick and thin. So our choice is simple. Do I speak, and do I think, and do I make my decisions out of a place and out of a heart of fear because I am afraid? Or by God's grace and strength and spirit, can I think and speak and act out of a heart and spirit of love and resurrection? God has broken our bonds. That is God's gift to us this Easter. Jesus has broken our bonds, and that is Jesus' Easter gift to all of us. Alleluia. Christ is risen. The Lord is risen indeed. Alleluia.